to the fact a couple of years ago, maybe 2 years, the IRS, because there were some issues with my tax, not my tax, not that, but they needed some documentation. They were like, the only way you can do it is fax it to us. I'm like, okay, well, that's going to take me some time. All right, I got to figure out even how to do this. Does anyone even have a phone, a landline? Does somebody think phone line that blessed?
Some families that were victims of terror from Palestinians were attempting to sue the Palestinian Authority and the PLO because of their pay-to-slave program, where they actually, if you are martyred or if you kill someone, an Israeli, an American, they end up paying, and you go to prison for it or you're martyred, they end up paying your family. They like a real-life benefit that people are receiving. And we've talked about this for years on the broadcast, but they tried to sue under the Anti-Terrorism Act of 1990, but then they were blocked. So Congress, and actually signed the law by President Trump in 2019, passed the Promoting Security and Justice for Victims of Terrorism Act, where this was giving a pathway to sue. This obviously got challenged in court, and it made all the way up to the Supreme Court, something we had been following and filed in, and the Supreme Court held today unanimously
9-0,
9-0, that the individuals can sue these organizations. There is jurisdiction here.
The U.S. has jurisdiction.
Exactly. So we can go into some of the more details in the next segment of what we argued and how it lined up with the opinion of the Supreme Court. But that's a great win for the families that are trying to seek justice for their loved ones that were victims of Palestinian terror.
All right, phone lines are open for you. We got one line still open. More will open up. 1-800-684-3110. Again, Will just told you about a Supreme Court victory that happened this morning. Again, it's not one that's necessarily going to be the biggest news. You're not going to hear about it everywhere. It doesn't matter. The ACLJ is there, really shaping the way America functions. And because of you, we're able to do that. Again, we're not funded by major sponsors. We're not funded even majorly by major donors. We are funded mostly the people that give on a $25, $75, one-time or monthly. Being an ACLJ champion means a lot to us. We can't do it without you. And of course, if you're a champion, you get bumped up on the line. Guess what? We got a champion on hold, so they're going to be up first. We'll be right back.
After nearly 50 years, Roe v. Wade, the tragic ruling that manufactured a so-called right to abortion, has been overturned by the United States Supreme Court. This is the moment the ACLJ has been fighting for. It's the biggest victory we've achieved in our 3-decade-long fight against the soulless abortion industry. And believe me, abortionists like Planned Parenthood are devastated. This victory would not have been possible without the steadfast prayer and support of ACLJ members like you. On behalf of the entire ACLJ, I thank you for standing with us against the abortion industry and helping us save defenseless babies. I thank you for making this victory possible, and I ask you for your continued prayer and support as we continue to battle against barbaric new abortion laws across our nation.
The challenges facing Americans are substantial. At a time when our values, our freedoms, and our constitutional rights are under attack, it's more important than ever to stand with the American Center for Law and Justice. For decades now, the ACLJ has been on the front lines, protecting your freedoms, defending your rights in courts, in Congress, and in the public arena. And we have an exceptional track record of success. But here's the bottom line. We could not do our work without your support. We remain committed to protecting your religious and constitutional freedoms. That remains our top priority, especially now during these challenging times. The American Center for Law and Justice is on your side. If you're already a member, thank you. And if you're not, well, this is the perfect time to stand with us at aclj.org, where you can learn more about our life-changing work. Become a member today. aclj.org.
Welcome back to Secular. We are going to take your calls and comments in this segment. Pretty cool. 1-800-684-3110. We're going to go ahead and jump to one of those calls. Let's go to Cambria, who's calling in Utah, who is an ACLJ champion, so she jumps to the front of the line. Cambria, you're on the air.
Thank you for taking my call.
Thank you for your support.
But you're very welcome. I'm proud to do it. My question has to do kind of with the precedence of the National Guard becoming nationalized and the president taking over the situation. And I'm a logistics-minded person, so I find that amazing that he could do that without the cooperation of the local government and the governor himself. And secondly, I'm curious if you've heard any feedback or from the citizens at all on your broadcast as to what they think about it.
Yeah, sure, Cambria. We have a huge base in California. Actually, probably it's usually the first or second, depending on the moment. The biggest donor and supporter of the ACLJ come from Southern California. There is just so many people there. And then you have areas that have been, maybe they're a little more liberal now, but they have been traditionally conservative, Orange County and those areas. We are on the air in LA every morning and afternoon on KKLA. We have been a part of the fabric of Southern California evangelical and conservative movements for decades at this point. So we do hear from them, and a lot of them know what's going on in California. And of course, Rick Grenell, they know that California has been a mess for many, many years. And look, I love California. It's one of my favorite places in the country. I love to visit there. I say, my wife and I always say it's like an every other trip. Every other trip, we're like, oh man, we should have moved here years ago. And then the next trip, it's like, get me out of here as fast as you can. Because it really depends on the experience you're going to have. That's a lot of major cities, but LA has seemed to have taken, and California in general, has seemed to have taken the brunt of a lot that's happened over the last 5 years, 6 years. But yeah, when it comes to the legal precedent, Will, when they'll be able to work together, it is probably, it's different. The Dodgers put out a thing saying, hey, the ICE came in and we stopped the ICE enforcement, and the ICE enforcement said we didn't send anyone to Dodger Stadium. So now there's like, this kind of conflict going on between federal government and the locals.
That's right. And to Cambria's question, the president under Title X of the United States is the commander-in-chief. Well, he's commander-in-chief under the Constitution. But under Title X, it gives ways that the president can actually utilize the National Guard, which is typically under the control of the governor. And there are things like the Posse Comitatus Act, which limit the use of the military for civilian law enforcement. But there are other mechanisms within the law which allow for the president to override that because of extraordinary circumstances. What the president is arguing here, and which is a part of the law, is that the president can use the National Guard when federal law is unable to be carried out through normal methods. And I actually understand a lot of caution that should be a healthy hesitance within conservatives even of using the National Guard and military for law enforcement. I mean, we don't want martial law in mass in the country. But what is different here is that the point of the riots, of the protests, aren't just to speak out. Their intended goal is to stop ICE from being able to enforce federal law. They want ICE out of California. That goes to direct statutory language of when a president could use the National Guard to help supplement the enforcement of federal law. And so that is what we're seeing play out, and that's actually what the Ninth Circuit was giving deference to in that opinion today.
You're seeing a lot of people in California right now that are commenting saying, Logan, we are with this. This is what we want. This is what we've been asking for. We're seeing that kind of over and over in the comments right now. We also have a lot of people say, hey, I started listening to your show on KKLA. I'm now migrated over to YouTube because look, they want to see our pretty faces. It's just the truth. But a lot of people are saying, it's crazy there and they need help. So if their own government won't do it, how many of your friends in California have experienced break-ins in their homes, have experienced their cars being shattered? I mean, it is not, it sounds like we are creating some sort of fear-mongering, but it's not. I was in Northern California a couple years ago even, and they were like, hey, make sure you roll down your windows and take everything out of your car. Because then they're not going to smash your windows in to steal anything. And those are signs, like permanent, printed by the state or by the city signs that are around saying, hey, the only way to avoid car break-ins in our city, we're not going to do anything about it, is to empty your car and roll the windows down. That is what people have been dealing with in California, and I think there is a lot, specifically our supporters, who have had enough of that.
That's right, and specifically the section of code that they cite in the memorandum to the Secretary of Defense, this is from the President of the United States, is Title 10 of U.S. Code, Section 12406. That's actually what was referenced in the opinion as well. And it says whenever, and you jump down to the third point, the President is unable with regular forces to execute the laws of the United States, the President may call into federal service members and units of the National Guard of any state in such numbers as he considers necessary to repel the invasion, suppress the rebellion, or execute those laws. So the first two are referring to the other 2 points in there. So there is the statutory language of Title 10 that they were citing and using that. So that's the precedent, and that's the law, and that's what they're arguing in court.
We're going to shift over in topics, but I want to take this call. Tim is calling in Florida on line 2. Tim, go ahead.
Hi, thanks for you guys being out there for us. I spent 20 years in the military, and I understand a lot what's going on. But, you know, one thing I'm concerned with, if we do go in and attack and help Israel with Iran, what's going to happen? You know, we're already having problems here, like you guys were just discussing about ICE, and I'm completely behind that. But if that does happen in Iran, the people that came here illegally that are Muslims that are part of Iran, and I even saw one thing where this Iranian guy was coming across the border. He was interviewed by somebody, and they said, "Where are you from?" He says, "I'm a major in the Iranian forces." And it's like, these people that are already here, are they going to attack if we do something there? That's something I kind of fear for our country.
Tim, I understand being concerned about those kind of things, but again, it can't really stop the country from moving forward, those kind of fears, because that kind of fear is what will continue to breed them.
Well, and once again, Tim, you're not wrong. We know that people in the terror watch list were caught at the border during the Biden administration, and we also must assume with how many gotaways and things of that nature at the border in the Biden administration, there are many that were not caught. I do have trust that the FBI, they've been able to, this new revitalized FBI has been focused